The Guns on Pegs podcast is brought to you by ITAP Group. Hello and welcome to the Guns on Pegs podcast. I'm George Brown.
And I'm Chris Horn. How are we, George?
Well, hot. Hot is how I am.
Yeah, and you're going to be hotter tomorrow when we're sim shooting together, but hey-ho, enough said on that.
Yes, well, it is going to be extremely hot. I was shooting there the other day, and it was about 10 degrees cooler than it's going to be tomorrow. And there were moments when my glasses steamed up and I couldn't really see out. But it didn't seem to affect my accuracy at all. So,
what, you mean it started bad and ended bad?
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, I started shooting badly. I stopped being able to see. It made no discernible difference to how many clays I broke.
Well, just before we started recording, our guest gave me just something that blew my mind, which is so simple, and it's absolutely needed for tomorrow. So I really need to get onto what's that you're drinking.
Yes. So, well, introduce our guest then, Chris.
So our guest today is one that we've been lining up for a while, and we are absolutely delighted that he is able to join us. He is former Director General of the NFU, no less. Also a former industry co-chair of the UK Food and Drink Council, former comms director of Food and Drink Federation, trustee of RABI, the farmers' charity, and perhaps best known to Guns on Pegs listeners as Fidel, who was the instigator of the Forgotten Drive segment, and also a second-time correspondent, cartridge belt skeptic, which I fully concur with. A huge warm welcome to Terry Jones. Welcome, Terry.
Hi, it's great to see you guys, and it is just sweltering hot. So, yeah, it's great to see you both, and I can't wait to get onto the drinks myself.
It's a great honour to have you with us, Terry. Now, not only because of your very storied career that Chris has already outlined, but also I think this is the first time that we've had a guest on who was a correspondent before they were a guest, which is pretty exciting. I know we're going to come on to talk about your Forgotten Drives at another time. And I wanted to ask Chris a question, which is, given that Terry has earned his garters twice over already and is now a guest, do you think that makes him a spotty hat candidate?
Ooh, that's a great suggestion. And for those that have no idea what George has just said, a spotty hat is what we give to someone who's basically smashed it out the park. Is that a good phrase for it, George?
Yeah, I think it pretty much is.
So we have the most noble ordered garters, where you get these lovely garish pink garters for your correspondence. But if you go above and beyond, and that can be achieved in a number of different ways, we also have access to this ludicrous spotty flat cap, which obviously draws a lot of attention on a shoot day. Anyway, your question, do you know what? I'm inclined to say yes, but I'd like to put this out to listeners.
Oh dear.
George, your views?
I mean, I wouldn't have suggested it if I didn't think it was a good idea. It just feels like having been such a long-term and highly engaged listener and now being a guest, it feels like there needs to be something.
There's only 5 spotty hats in existence, Terry.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I tell you what, we'll put you forward to the nominations committee.
Right.
Who's on that?
George, shh. And the nominations committee meets actually for dinner tomorrow night. Yeah, we'll discuss. But anyway, George and I will be singing your praises because of everything we already know. So let's get on to it.
Let's do what's that you're drinking. Terry, what's in your glass?
I was going to follow on from John Henderson's Balvenie Doublewood with the Balvenie Madeira, but it's 29 or 30 degrees here, so I've gone with a Thatcher's Gold cider, which was our wedding cider. My wife did her Nuffield Scholarship with Martin Thatcher, and so there's nothing better to drink on a day like today than a nice ice-cold Thatcher's, so that's what I've gone for.
Perfect. That
Very
sounds
nice.
Very refreshing.
Yeah, I think that's a winning choice. Yeah, couldn't really argue with the cold cider on a day like today.
Yeah. Chris, what about you?
I have a very cold Guinness, and I know I've had a Guinness before in this pod, and I do try and have different drinks each time, but for the same reasons as Terry, I just couldn't look beyond a very cold Guinness on a day like today. But to be specific, I'm also an advocate of, I'm one of those people that likes the Nitro Surge thing that goes on the pint cans, because I did a little taste test at Christmas, and it does deliver a better pint than the simple sort of widget jobby inside the can. And at that point, I have to tee Terry up for his off-air comment, which is making an appearance on the Sim Day tomorrow.
So, I was in a pub recently, and I was offered an 80-20 Guinness, and because they knew I was driving. And an 80-20 Guinness is a pint glass with a can of Guinness Zero in it, but then topped up with proper draft, leaded, fully, proper Guinness.
Leaded.
Yeah. And I mean, you could just about tell the difference, but you were hard pressed to. And actually, that first righteous pint after shooting or after a hard day's work, you barely tell the difference, I would say.
It's sort of a reverse shandy, where it's all Guinness. It's a very good idea.
It's a really good idea, because the Guinness Zero, we've long said, is probably the best non-alcoholic drink there is. And on a shoot day, and especially a day like tomorrow, a sim day where it's going to be really hot, it's going to be really thirst quenching. But if you take a few cans of the real stuff, it will give it that depth, which we've also said is what's missing. A little bit of depth, right?
Yeah, so you got, typically, like 100, 150 mils of proper Guinness in a pint. So, you can probably have 3 or 4 of those and still hop in the car and drive home.
That's such a great thing, because you don't really have 3 or 4 non-alcoholic ones, but I imagine, and you end up feeling like you want to cut the conversation short and leave early or whatever, or just sort of get on with it. You know what it's like. And then actually this might be enough to sort of keep you there. I will reserve judgment for it until I've tried it, but thank you for suggesting it. And then obviously the same question then goes, what other things could 80-20 be done with very well?
Well, I mean, theoretically, you could do it with any beer, right? So, for example, Adnams do an alcoholic and a non-alcoholic ghost ship, I think it's called.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you could do that.
That's a good beer. Great. George, what are you drinking?
Well, I thought it was a really good idea, and I am now slightly regretting my choice, having heard you guys drinking ice-cold pints. But I have got a glass of Bardolino.
Oh, yeah.
Which is, for those who don't know, it's an Italian red wine, and it's sort of designed for drinking sort of slightly chilled. So obviously, if you wanted a glass of wine in this sort of weather, you might typically go for a rosé. This has just got a little bit more body, a little bit more fruit to it. And it is delicious, but I can't deny that I would probably rather be having a pint. But there we go. It's delicious. It's also incredibly reasonably priced. I think it was £10 a bottle in Majestic, because nobody drinks it. Nobody buys Bardolino, and it's one of my favourite styles of wine. So there you go.
Lovely. Just as you say, great, but just not quite thirst quenching enough for the heat.
Correct.
Because you can't drink too much of it. Weirdly, I bought 2 bottles of Bruley at the weekend, which is a Gamay, because my local wine man, who's an absolute hero, was just desperately trying to get rid of this stuff on me and gave it to me for not a lot of money. And one in the fridge works brilliantly. I'm not a big rosé fan, and I think that is an alternative.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Right, it's time to move on to Whose Bird Is Anyway. Now, Terry, as a long-time listener, you will know that this is the segment of the show where we ask our listeners to send in their shooting dilemmas and quandaries and queries, and we do our best to help them out. And our Whose Bird Is It Anyway for this episode comes from someone we shall call Marco, who writes, "Third time's a charm in writing in, and if it doesn't make it into an episode, I'll assume you've tired of my attempts to earn a spot in the most noble order of the Garters. My query is this. I'm a massive advocate of game meat, and everyone in the shooting community should be promoting game at every opportunity, be it in the office, sports club, or at a social event. I'm proud to say I stick by this, and throughout the year I will carefully ration out my game meat so as to know that there'll be enough for at least 3 or 4 meals a week, which will feature fur or feather. I have a mantra of, if you can do it with chicken, you can do it with pheasant. If you can do it with beef, you can do it with venison. I'll go so far as to use every bit of game I shoot, and on more than one occasion will take more than I shot. Guns on a 200 bird day should look to take more than a brace home if it's on offer. Every bit of game will also be harvested to ensure minimum wastage, even if this means the wife having to eat through small pieces of minced pheasant leg tendon. I will gladly promote game and give it out to friends and family, even sticking the offer out there on a work WhatsApp group with 150 members, and I will nearly always have takers. Duck flies off the shelf, whereas pheasant and partridge are a bit slower. My issue is this. Half of those who want to have some pheasant, duck or partridge seem somewhat perturbed when I say to them, you'll get it the way it landed, i.e. it's going to come with the feather or fur. I'm extremely reluctant to go through the laborious task of plucking, breasting, cleaning, skinning, sealing up, just so that they don't have to, and we all know how long this can take. Sometimes, after the WhatsApp message goes out, collectively people at work will want 10 or 12 birds off me. So you can imagine processing this will take a lot of time. I hear excuses of, but I don't know how to do it, when I very kindly point them in the direction of YouTube and the incredibly vast amount of content relating to the topic there. This will then inevitably result in them saying, no thanks then, or let me know if you have any that are ready to go. I believe that there's some merit in preparing your meat, learning the anatomy and understanding where our food comes from. All points I'm sure you and your audience would agree with. It's about understanding the link from animal to food and knowing that there is a process in between this bit and that bit. So, should I at least be preparing game meat for my friends and colleagues, helping them take that first initial step into game, or should I stick by my guns and with a bit of blood and a mess in their garden leave them to educate themselves and enjoy the process and the final product?
I'm sensing he knows where this is going to go. Terry?
This is a tricky one. But without question, you've got to try and meet that demand and help people on the journey. So I wonder whether there isn't a sort of 3-stage process to this, whether on the first occasion you do process it yourself for them. On the second occasion that they ask for it, you're upfront about this. You say to them, we'll process it together and I'll show you how to do it. And then the third time it's fully in the feather and you say, look, I warned you. This is how we do it. You know, this is the 3-stage process.
That's a great idea, because he's going to be handing it over at work, right? On the basis that that's the link. So he could do this sort of in the yard at work or whatever, in the car park, on a little fold, one of those fold up plastic tables, and go, right, come on then, everyone's going to get into this. Yeah. I reckon there'd be quite a few takers out of intrigue alone.
I think this is exactly the answer I was going to give, Terry, which is, there's the old adage, give a man a fish versus teach a man to fish. And actually, if you run a workshop for 5 or 10 people, you can process the 10 birds that are required as part of the workshop. And thereby you are giving them the skills to use for themselves later on, which is a much better thing than just giving them the game in the first place anyway.
Yeah. Do you know what's also great? I find that when I'm got a number of birds to do, plates, knives, setup area, just stuff, if it's there and done, like, you can whiz through, right? And you know what I mean, like when you're at home and there's like feathers flying around the sitting room or whatever it is, wherever you're doing it. I remember in a flat in London that was always trouble. But the other issue, and I don't know, I was chatting to someone about this the other day, if you're doing more than a couple, where do you put carcasses?
Well, I just have a bin liner attached to the work surface that I'm working on.
But where do you put the bin liner? Because I got a note once from my council on the black bin, because I'd put them in there, and they must have seen them, and they said, like, nothing, like no food waste, basically. And so you have to put them in a little food waste bin, and our food waste bins literally just only fit enough of our, like, food waste.
Oh gosh, yes, that's a good point. The new food waste bins are an issue, aren't they?
because you can get 2 pheasants in a food waste bin plus your weekly food waste, like 2 carcasses. I mean, but the point being that, like, I think this is an issue because his point is if you're taking lots of birds home on a larger day, that genuinely is a sticking point for me. It's like where I don't know, Terry, do you have any thoughts on that?
No, I do you know, I hadn't thought of that. Yeah, I'm afraid I tend to do what you do. I tend to use the black bin, and but then we've got a really big green waste and food waste bin here, so it wouldn't be a problem if I was pulled up on it. So yeah.
Oh, fine.
And this is the kind of postcode lottery of curbside recycling, isn't it? That every local authority does it differently.
Totally, it's ridiculous, isn't it? And it's a genuine issue. Like they're really hot on it around here with the food waste thing, but I don't. Anyway, sorry, I'm getting bogged down on something I actually don't really know much about. But it just came up because someone said the other day, if I take 40 birds home from a shoot, and I'm thinking, you've got 40 carcasses, like that's, are you burning, burying? I mean, I don't know what the rules are on this stuff.
You're not really supposed to do either of those things.
No.
Well, that's what I mean. That's what I assumed. But yeah.
Yeah. But look, I think we should say, first of all, Marco is doing a great thing here. And I wish more people thought like Marco did. To be trying to distribute game with your work colleagues beyond the immediate sort of shooting world, I think is such an important thing for people to be doing and to be taking it upon themselves to do. So I think there's a danger that we sound like we're saying you're doing it wrong. But I think what we're actually saying is go that one step further.
Well, no, I don't think we said we're doing it wrong at all. I think it's brilliant. And as you say, well, yeah, anything you can do. And he alluded to this in his last point when he was saying, taking that first initial step. He absolutely gets it. And that is obviously that we all immediately jump to as game shots. Like that's the critical point. So anything he can do is the key message.
Yeah.
How about also on that WhatsApp group, if he sent a message, right, I've got a load of game, you can have it in the feather for nothing. You can come to a little game butchery thing I'm going to do so we can all do it together and you can learn. Or I'll do it for you for £2 a bird.
£2 to somebody like Country Food Trust.
Yeah. Or even if he just charged himself. But I mean, better for charity, of course. But I think if he comes back and he's got 100 birds to do.
Yes.
The point is, he's given them then 2 great options.
Yeah, I think that's a really good way of doing it, actually. And my experience is that whenever you show somebody how to do this, people are pretty amazed at how easy it is, and that they then feel quite energized to do it themselves. So I think there's a lot to be said for the demos, rather than just the YouTube link. I think you watch a YouTube. I've taught myself venison butchery via YouTube, and the issue with that is that experts go very fast, and it's quite difficult to pause a video on your phone when you're bloody to the elbows and trying to work out which way up you've got that haunch or whatever it is, and whether you're looking at the same thing that they're looking at. And,
do you know what?
It's just not a practical thing to do.
You've absolutely stumbled on something here. You know how people speed up podcasts, like listen on 2 times. So if someone's listening to this on 2 times, I'm really sorry because that's really fast. But anyway, you know how people speed up podcasts? You need to be able to slow down YouTube videos, because I find exactly that when you're doing like learning how to do something first time, or I'm changing the window regulator on my car for like the thingy broke to make the window go up and down. I'm like, you need to be going slower. If you could slow that down, it would be perfect. It's such a great feature.
They need to sort of build in all these instructional videos, they need to build in like a 30-second pause between steps while you try to work out if you've got it the right way up. If the thing you're looking at is the same thing that they're looking at in the or while you hunt out the parts that it is that you suddenly need that you didn't know you needed.
Yeah. Right. Straight in there with good advice. Well done, Terry. This is exactly the sort of one we really need an update on as well. Like when it comes towards the sort of peak of this season and it's happened. Because these are really positive stories, aren't they, if they work, especially if we've dished out some half-hearted advice.
Yeah. I would love to know if he does organise a demo in the season and how well attended it is and what the reaction is like. Because again, this is the sort of thing where people might be listening to this and think, oh, I could do that.
Yeah. I tell you what, go a stage further with the demo. I've done this before with a friend where I showed them how to take the breast out of a pigeon. And then I did a super fast pigeon satay. And they were blown away because they were like, wow, I just saw all of the little mini steps there.
Yeah.
And it's so straightforward and so easy. So I think if you can take one of those little camping stoves, a frying pan.
Yeah. Yeah. Or a little portable gas barbecue or even one of those evil disposable barbecues, which I'm happy for people to use in an urban or work car park setting, but not in the countryside.
Evil barbecue.
Yeah.
And then my next suggestion is just do the demo with partridge.
Why partridge?
Because it's just more of a crowd pleaser on the taste if you're going to do that.
Okay. Yeah. Fair enough.
It's like entry level 1, isn't it, into game?
Yeah. Ducks are a bit fiddlier, aren't they? Because they've got that funny shaped chest bone, which always takes me by surprise the first time I do a duck after a little while. And, oh, why's my knife stopped? Oh, yeah, because I've got to turn sideways now. But yeah, I think it's a fantastic thing, this.
And especially if you're doing a little taste test on the duck and you've shot like a widgeon on the marsh, and then this is the first time they try it.
Yeah, good. Well, I like that. A nice positive start. Chris, have we got an unpopular opinion?
We do, from someone that we shall call Yogi. Dear team, I'm writing in response to your previous correspondent who referred to his need for a certain number of minutes entertainment from his days in the field. This was on the Dad, Bod and Stopwatch episode. I was somewhat baffled and slightly concerned by Chris's reference, he's having a dig at me, to shooting being part of the entertainment industry. I can certainly appreciate his perspective, but I hold a rather different opinion. For me, if we need to categorize shooting, it's part of the burgeoning wellness industry. Why? Well, the word that defines shooting for me is therapy. We all lead increasingly hectic lives in an increasingly hectic and troubled world. Shooting is one of the very few pastimes that enables me to completely disconnect, recharge, take a physical and metaphorical deep breath, and reconnect with myself and friends in a unique way. From the almost ceremonial dressing in my tweeds, putting on my favourite tie bought by my wife, packing my kit, first drive nerves, final drive glow of a wonderful day, to beating with my sons and dog. Camaraderie of guns, beaters, pickers up and keepers, the wonderful meals and the nights away with friends who I may only see once each year, but whose company I cherish, to those flashbacks of shots I'm proud of and birds I've saluted as they've flown on by. I've been extraordinarily lucky in the last few years, having previously had a large time away from shooting due to work and family commitments, to meet a wonderful group of people, join a syndicate with a true family atmosphere, and laugh my socks off more times than I can remember. Every single member of that group, every moment of shooting, the whole end-to-end experience of our wonderful lifestyle makes me a more content version of myself. Am I beyond grateful for that and simply can't imagine any form of therapy for my body, mind and soul? Keep up the wonderful work, chaps. I feel like he's written that in the bath after a shoot day.
It's very well expressed. I have to say that, first of all, a very well expressed piece of correspondence. Terry, for you, is shooting a bit of fun? Is it something that you need in your life to be able to unwind? What role does shooting play in your life?
Look, I can't really disagree with anything that our correspondents just said there. I mean, when I think back to, we all have those tough periods at work, and we've got a little syndicate in the village here, and the opportunity just to leave it all behind on Saturday morning and just go off for the day, it has a transformative effect. In much the same way that going out to feed cattle at the weekend, I live on a farm here, does the same thing. But that change of scene, but also that company, and not talking about work. I mean, the syndicate I'm in, we've got kind of electricians and joiners and a guy who's in the IT industry. I don't spend any time talking about farming on our syndicate, and I think it has had a transformative impact. So yeah, I kind of agree with every word that we've just heard.
Do you know what's so great about that? I can't think of many other walks of life where that happens. I think like maybe if you were in like the five-a-side football team or something, but like what else? Nothing. Cricket?
Yeah, I think any sport or activity where there's a group of people getting together to do it. I mean, work often does come up, but I think those group activities are super important. I think doing things as part of a group are really, really important. I don't know, particularly for guys. I don't know if that's true or not. I just have this sense that, there's that thing that that girls communicate face to face and blokes communicate side by side.
Yeah.
That said, it feels to me like a sort of version of that, where it's a bit of it's not quite a safe space, but you can just be together with a bunch of other dudes, just be chaps together. That's quite therapeutic in and of itself. But then I think, the other aspect that you probably don't get with many of these other things is the being out in nature. And there's so much research that says that, as it were, green therapy is incredibly good for you. So I think that is the factor that sets shooting apart again from other things.
Yeah. And actually, when you think about a typical day, you've got those moments where you are together as a team. And then you've got those moments where, in effect, you're on your own because your neighbours are 20 yards away from you. And that opportunity for, thinking of the right buzzword here, some mindfulness. You get that opportunity to sort of be on your own and take nature in, as you've described, George, is one not to be missed.
It is unique.
Yeah, I think mindfulness is it is a buzzword, and I think it's one of those buzzwords that gets bandied around quite a lot. But it is, that the meaning of it is sort of being in the moment and having that solitude on the peg and being in the moment is super important. Now, there are plenty of reasons why you might struggle to get into that mindset on a shoot day and really focus on being in the moment, nerves about how well you're going to shoot, or beating yourself up over the one that you've just missed, or in my case, trying to keep my kids from running in. There's lots of distractions, but the moments when you can find that little moment of sort of purity are so special.
And do you know what's so different about shooting to all those other things we do, whether it's cricket or whatever? I mean, cricket isn't the most arduous sport like football or something, but they still are quite serious forms of exercise. Now, shooting still is that, but in a different way. It's mental exercise a lot of the time. It's just, I don't know if you call it physical exercise. It is physical exercise to a point. But it's just got so many benefits, but it is unique. I mean, it's been a long time since I've had this sort of analysis conversation, and I do think this is exactly the point that makes shooting so special, because it's very different to stalking or fishing because of the group. Very different to those sports because of the lack of physical activity and therefore the wide range of people that you have taking part and the inclusive nature of it across the sort of shoot day, from beaters, pickers up to guns.
Yeah. Chris, you've spoken a lot on the podcast about how having Corey, your dog, with you on a shoot day has changed your relationship with shooting a bit.
Yeah.
Do you think that it has a therapeutic effect having her with you? Or is it a level of stress?
No, I mean, obviously it can be. You don't want a dog that's going to constantly panic you all day. But do you know what I think it does? It just enables you to focus on her for a minute and be in the moment. And I think at the moment, and I'm talking about this from my own personal point of view and from a lot of friends, being in the moment is one of the hardest things. There are so many instant distractions to us on our phones and everything else that actually being present in any one situation, I think, is one of the hardest things going on at the moment. And I think that when you're on a shoot day, your phone's in your pocket. It's a right arse to get it out of your pocket anyway, even if you could. having the dog with you is just this distraction, like a sort of friend, but you don't have to be as polite to your dog as you would with a friend. But it's this sort of like, obviously people catch you chatting to your dog, but I think that's fairly normal.
It sounds almost like you're hoping that you can screw one of your friends to the floor with a corkscrew.
And then be like, wait there, just, yeah.
I'm afraid I'm going to completely disagree, because my dog clearly isn't as well trained as yours. And in my experience, it's a fabulous way to ruin a good day's shooting. So either go take the gun or the dog. If I end up taking both, then nobody seems to have a great day.
Is it a spaniel?
Yes, it's a cocker, yeah.
Yeah, you see, I knew it was. That's where you went wrong. It's nothing to do. Anyway.
But I'm quite interested in this idea that shooting is in the wellness industry. I mean, this is obviously a bit tongue-in-cheek, I think, but...
No, I really don't think. Basque, sorry to cut you off, George. Basque did that analysis last year about the social benefits of shooting that they presented to DEFRA. It's enormous. Absolutely enormous. They did that mental... Actually, we had the start of it. We kicked that off from the census.
Yes, yeah.
We asked people about the impact of shooting on their well-being. So anyway, back to what you were saying, but to absolutely justify where you were going.
Well, where I was going is, I believe you can get a fishing prescription on the NHS. Is it time for there to be a shooting prescription on the NHS? And if it is, how do I get one?
The NHS is already bust. Can you imagine how bust it would be after that?
No, because mental health support is really expensive. I'll bet it's not much more expensive than shooting.
What sort of budget would you pitch for?
But it's like all of these things, that prevention is better value than cure. And so whether it's in the food world, when you think about obesity, it's a lot easier to deal with it before it becomes an issue than when it does. It's interesting. I mean, you're talking about prescriptions there. I mean, you start to see social prescriptions in terms of care farming and so on. So there is definitely something about the outdoors and mindfulness. And I suppose the argument that we would have to make in shooting is, well, you just happen to be doing something else while enjoying the countryside.
Do you know, there's something here that really annoys me that the government need to look at, which is beating, being considered an employee, minimum wage, PAYE, all of the hurdles that make such a really wonderful thing for people that would do it for nothing because they want to do it. The cash is like just sort of a perk almost. In a lot of instances, to make shoots have to jump through all those loopholes to get people out beating when you consider everything we've just said, for me is a travesty. I cannot believe that they capture that in the same as sort of like fruit pickers, which is a job. Beating is not a job.
Yes, that's a bit of a one-size-fits-all thing, isn't it? Because I can see the logic behind making big commercial operations pay their staff. I think that's legit. But I think, syndicate shoots, farm shoots, that kind of thing, maybe there needs to be a different categorization thing going on.
They do have a bit of different categorization, and it's to do with the amount of PAYE, I believe. But it's nowhere near appropriate, and too many small shoots worry about it.
Yeah, but I think going back to the nature thing and what you said, Chris, about it being that you're just doing something else. I've often thought that shooting is sort of the excuse, if you see what I mean. It's the reason to get together, the reason to be outside doing something. Going for a walk is all well and good, but if you have purpose, that gives something else to the day, doesn't it?
You mean like golf?
I mean, I guess so.
Like go for a walk with purpose.
I mean, golf is not therapeutic, in my experience.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. For a large chunk of the country, it is, but I'm absolutely with you on that one.
Yeah.
Well, I really like that. I think Guns on Pegs should rebrand as a wellness business. It opens up a whole range of new hashtags that you can use on social media. I'm all in favour.
Yeah, basically a charity.
So I don't think this can possibly be an unpopular opinion then.
Definitely not.
I agree. Definitely not. But I just want to pick up on his. It wasn't really a dig, but it was a slight dig at my reference to the entertainment industry. For anyone that hasn't heard the last episode, I was referring to it in the form of the way that shoots operate. And I agree. We're not really in the entertainment industry, but that the entertainment side of the day is a crucial part of the therapy.
Yes. It wouldn't be therapeutic if you weren't having fun.
Yeah. Fine line.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. Well, two excellent pieces of correspondence. Chris, have we got one more?
We do. We've got a piece of correspondence from someone we should call Rachel, in brackets Reeves. Hi, gents. Long-time listener, first-time writer. Well done. Our roving syndicate are organising some days for the coming season. I noticed once again that the invoice came through with no VAT on it, the shoot being run as a sporting club. I'm seeing this more and more, and I assume it's a way of knocking the cost down for guns, which on the face of it sounds like a good thing. But I'll be honest, I don't fully understand the premise, and I'm not sure whether it's a good or a bad thing for shooting in the long run. Part of me worries it leaves us a bit exposed. If these shoots aren't paying VAT to the Exchequer, is that a weakness waiting to be found out? On the other hand, I can see the far bigger weakness being a shoot that needs to be 20% more expensive, which in this case, for the day he's mentioning, meant we probably wouldn't have gone there. And the knock-on impact of that, well, the shoot might not be able to employ its keepers, the conservation impact, etc. I genuinely don't have a firm opinion either way, which is what I'm writing in. I imagine this is something that some people are all for and others don't like it. So I'd love to hear you guys thrash it out. Over to you, gents.
Crikey. Right. I don't really understand accounting, so I'm going to need some background before I can have a strong opinion.
I have to declare quite a lot of knowledge on this topic. So should I give a quick bit of overview?
I think that's sensible.
So Guns on Pegs has an involvement in a thing called Sports Mutual, which is a national sporting club. The guy behind Sports Mutual is one of the UK's leading tax barristers, and he came to us many, many years ago and said, look, I've set up loads of sporting clubs for golf clubs because in the early 90s, like the government were really advocating this. They wanted people getting out to go and play golf. Hey, I've just realised the massive link between the previous bit of correspondence and this one. They wanted people going out playing golf because they recognised prevention rather than cure, to Terry's point, was a really good way of looking after overweight middle-aged guys. So the VAT exemption for sport came in. Now, it's really quite complicated to abide by this because you've got to be not-for-profit and so on. So the fundamentals behind the VAT exemption for sport is that it provides better value to those taking part, first and foremost. And if not, i.e. if the price needs to remain the same, it invests in the infrastructure, therefore longevity. So those are the two key tests. So a sporting club cannot simply stop one day, set up a sporting club tomorrow, take all this difference and somehow extract it as profit. The only way in which a sporting club would be the same price from one season to the next is if they were underpriced in the first place. Now, the test for a sporting club is market rate. And with your farming background, Terry, you'll know all about poor accounting on farms and shoots and things like that. Basically, shoots don't make money. So there is lots of things being done well below market rate. So there's strong justification to help to have some of that VAT go back into the operation to keep it standing on its 2 feet, look after the things that it does. Then it comes on to our own take on this. My take on this is keep the money in the countryside. I think we all know the impact of shooting on beaters, pickers up, hotels, local businesses. If shooting gets more and more expensive, which, by the way, in my opinion, is the biggest threat to shooting right now, way more than lead or any other labour regulations, this, that, and the other, price is pushing more people out of shooting than anything else.
Chris, before you go too much further, I think I just need to double check that I've understood. So So what's going on is that the government wants to get people outside. They created a VAT exemption for effectively for sports clubs, right? So it could. So am I right in saying it could apply to golf or cricket or tennis or whatever?
Yeah.
And so that means that shoots which would typically be over the VAT threshold no longer have to add VAT to the cost of their days, which reduces the cost of shooting for the customer, i.e. the gun.
Yeah. Now, it's not as straightforward as just saying I'm a sporting club. You have to do a lot of things, and you have to keep on top of it, and you have to run as a not-for-profit, and that's why sports meet should exist. But the point is, if you do it properly, you can look after the longevity of your shoot and maintain the integrity of probably the reason you set it up in the first place.
Okay, good. Right, now that I'm confident that I've understood, Terry, what do you think about this?
Well, as we'll probably come on to discuss, I'm probably the last person that you should ask about tax policy. But, and again, to link it to the previous bit of correspondence, it seems to me that what we're talking about here are clubs, lots of small little clubs that go off and buy shooting together, because they are almost without fail groups of mates, groups of people who do this activity together. We don't tend to call them clubs. We tend to call them syndicates or flying syndicates. So it seems to me that, and particularly given what Chris has said about the legal advice, this seems to me to be this should be able to continue for as long as it's deemed to be legal. It seems like a really fabulous way of more people being able to get out there and enjoy the sport or the pastime, however you want to describe it.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think that the point about, is this a weakness waiting to be found out? I guess there is a bit of a question there whether, if, the likes of Protect the Wild or someone of that nature got hold of this, would it be quite a simple stick with which to beat shooting? Look at these guys, they're not paying tax on this. I mean, I know that it's legally sound.
Yeah, well, this is the same with shooting all over. Like, blast innocent bird out sky, right?
Yeah.
It's the same argument. You can simplify anything in shooting and make it horrible really quite quickly. And yes, that is a weakness. These posh toffs don't pay VAT. That's
or billionaire landowner not paying VAT, or
without wishing to get too far into the tax detail, billionaire landowner can't make more money out of a sporting club than they otherwise were out of a normal shoot, because there is market rates and all that sort of stuff. But anyway, the point being, yes, if you simplify it to a Daily Mail headline, there could be a risk. I totally get that. However, when you stand back and look at how the country's GDP washing machine works, this will keep more money in the rural economy, rather than taking that 20%, going to Westminster and then getting lost in some HS2 project or something. That's basically the argument.
Yeah. I guess the point about the reinvestment in the countryside as well, where you mentioned that often these shoots have got the opportunity to put some of this saving back into the shoot and not just necessarily pass it all straight onto the guns, if it means that they can employ 1.5 keepers instead of one, rather, that sort of thing. There's sort of knock-on impacts, not only to the rural employment market, but also to the amount of work that they can do on habitat creation or whatever it might be on the shoot.
Honestly, you're absolutely onto the line there, because most, the large majority of shoots, well, not large majority, sorry, that's unfair. A lot of shoots are that amount above the VAT threshold, that 20% is essentially one keeper.
Right. Gosh. Yeah.
So there's your argument. There's the private conservation paid for, whilst achieving all the benefits our previous correspondent was quite neatly pointing out.
That's fascinating. And I guess Terry, maybe this is something that you can speak to. A lot of shoots operate as a part of or on farms, right? So, and we all know that the farm finances are sketchy at the best of times, and especially so now. So can you see this being advantageous for farms that have shoots operating on them as well?
Well, it's certainly not going to help if we lose it. And, I'm particularly concerned at the moment about the fortunes of, broadacre agriculture, particularly cereal production. And, so much of our shooting happens on those land areas that are under arable production. And it's such an, there's that symbiotic relationship with shooting there. It seems to me that if we were to lose this really important exemption or this way to plan for tax, that it would just be yet another kind of body blow for some of those integrated businesses that if you've got an estate that's got shooting, arable farming, and other enterprises on it. I mean, it's just yet another thing on top of really high fertilizer prices, on top of difficult weather conditions, on top of really low cereal prices that just make life a lot harder.
Yeah. Just tying it back into the previous conversation as well about mental health. I know I'm almost certain we'll come on to this topic in the next episode as well. But as you say, shooting and farming are inherently linked. Do you think that that shooting plays an important part for the farming community in helping farmers to get together and or do you think, or is farm shoots just a bunch of farmers moaning to one another? And
well, that can happen, clearly, but I think any opportunity. I mean, my father-in-law is in his 70s. He doesn't shoot, but he does enjoy going to Market Drayton, to sell cattle, and he's well into his 70s, and that's how he gets to meet his peers and gets to have that opportunity to meet. Because if he didn't do that, the opportunities would be far fewer. So I think anything like that allows people that work in, often lone workers in remote situations. My wife's involved in the Cheshire Agricultural Chaplaincy. I'm involved in RABI, and so much of those mental health issues can be prevented or spotted in those group catch-ups, whatever the setting. So, shooting will be a part of what some farmers do in the winter months when they're much less likely to see their mates.
Yeah,
I think if this exemption was to be looked at by the government, obviously it would be a political hot potato, and they would be looking at it just in isolation of shooting, specifically within the sporting exemption, which would be such a blatant attack that it would almost be like, have you not got any other issues on your plate right now? Which obviously we know they have. So it kind of feels like one of those things that you just don't want to go near for the benefit of what they would get, which would be zero, because there's no doubt about it. Put the cost up 20%, demand will go down 20%. Net position is definitely zero. But so was the VAT on private schools.
Yeah, good point. Yes. Well, that's really interesting. I would love to know what some of our listeners think about this. I think most of our listeners are purchasers of shooting rather than suppliers of shooting. But I'd love to get a supplier's view and a buyer's view.
Yeah, it's happening more and more. I mean, we're getting so many people ask about this. But as I said, because the biggest issue in shooting right now is cost.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's do a shameless plug then. If somebody has a shoot that they would like to turn into a sporting club, what do they do?
Well, they have to. So go on to sportsmutual.com and then contact the team and just have a chat. Not everyone's appropriate. It only works for a segment, and there's quite serious things that need to be jumped through. But on the face of it, nothing changes if it works. And guns don't see any different, which is the crucial point. But behind the scenes, there's quite a lot of tax work and stuff to do. But that's what Sports Mutual does. So it was literally set up to allow a shoot manager or a gamekeeper to focus on what they do best and let a tax barrister do his job.
Yes, I can see the appeal of that.
Yeah.
Great. Okay. Right. Well, Marco, Yogi, Rachel are the newest members of the Most Noble Order of Garters. Terry will have a ruling on the spotty hat in the next few days. But those three will shortly be in receipt of a pair of the very exclusive Guns on Pegs podcast shooting sock garters and can claim their free year of Guns on Pegs Premium and get access to the Order of the Garters WhatsApp community, which is very active at the moment. If you've got a shooting confession, quandary, or query that you'd like us and our guests to help you with, or if you have an unpopular opinion, or if you have a podcast suggestion or a forgotten drive, and you'd like us at a Gartus, drop us an email to pod@gunsonpegs.com. Chris, before we go, any parish notices to share?
A few spaces left for our pre-season dinner at the East India Club in London, because we've got huge capacity, which is great. We wanted to get as many people there as possible. August the 12th, the glorious 12th, evening, pink tie, drop us an email, pod@gunsonpegs.com. I think it's £110, which is insane value for a mega meal with fancy wines and all sorts in a London club. So you've got to be a Garter member, though. That's the only thing. So, yes, we look forward to seeing lots of you there.
Fantastic. And I've got one as well, which is that we are pretty much exactly a month out on the day of recording from the Game Fair, where once again, Chris and I will be on stage recording a live episode of the Guns on Pegs podcast in the Carter Jonas Game Fair Theatre. We will be starting round about 4:30. I think we have a loose plan.
We've had some silly ideas, I'll leave it at that, and they're all enjoyable.
Yeah, I think the last couple of years we've commanded the biggest audience in that tent over the course of the weekend, barring I think once when Ian Botham turned up. But it would be quite nice if we can fill the tent again. So if you're going to be there, make sure you stop by on the Saturday afternoon.
All that confirms is the power of silly ideas, George.
I couldn't agree more. My entire career is based on that. Good. That's it for this episode. In the next episode, Terry will still be with us, and we will be talking about what shooting can learn from farming when it comes to talking to policymakers. But until then, thanks very much for listening, and goodbye.